Okay, I think our next speaker is ready. And it's very interesting because he is a Mexican, Belgian, and French national, but lives in Switzerland. So that is, I think, very interesting. And Thierry is the CEO and chairman at AgAu.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello, everyone. So the title of the day is CBDC and stablecoins. I'm going to go through a lot of different things. Some of them are more fun than others. But I think it's very important that we take a look at what institutions are doing, and in particular central banks, but also the monetary system in general. So first, I was reading a book that is recently out from Ray Dalio, where it drives a parallel between the 1930s and where we are now. And I think there is a lot of turbulence that is building. First of all, we can see the chart that we recognize that the dollar basically has lost 98% of its value ever since the creation of the Federal Reserve. And the only time where it has gained a little bit of value was during the Great Depression of the 1930s. We notably also see two things in relation to gold as money, which is, number one, 1931, with Roosevelt unpegging, basically confiscating the gold for the purpose of having it at the Federal Reserve. And then the second thing, which is 50 years ago, 50-year anniversary, 1971, with Nixon essentially defaulting or suspending temporarily the convertibility of gold into dollars. And keyword is temporarily. So another example is all of these countries you can see there, where essentially proving that there is no fiat currency that lasts more than 100 years or 2 or 3 generations without either disappearing entirely or just renewing itself, essentially going out of business, essentially. So you need to realize that, because money per se, as store of value, medium of exchange, and unit of account, really lacks that store of value that it pretends to have. And this is particularly true for fiat currencies. So I encourage you to look at this book, The Changing World Order from Ray Dalio. There's a lot of things. There's also another book about debt crisis. But where we are today is in a moment where there is two tails. The leverage of the financial market and the money system is so big that you either have one tail that is hyperinflation, and then you have another tail that is a spiral, a deflationary spiral. And the question is almost not which one is going to happen, because most likely both are going to happen. The question is which one is going to happen first, okay? So in relation to this, we see in 2020, we have printed 20% of all of the dollars that were ever in existence. This is very relevant because of the coronavirus, or maybe not, we have printed almost 40% when you look at 2020, 2021, and we don't even know what happens 2022. So the monetary mass is huge. What is lacking is the velocity of money to create inflation. And that's why there's a lot of speculation about helicopter money, UBI, or MMT, essentially free money for everybody. But this obviously has inflationary effects, and some of them we are seeing today, let alone the disruptions of the supply chain in the world. So Bitcoin, electronic, peer-to-peer, cash system. Satoshi Nakamoto I see as a private sector initiative to try to solve the money problem. But I think it's very accurate that he mentions the part that is cash. It's an electronic cash, it's not money. There is a difference, as far as AgAu is concerned, between money and cash. And cash is fiat, and fiat is based on consensus and trust. But to me, it's a little bit better than the fiat that is already in existence. So I was in Malta last week. It was a little bit less serious, and I was talking about all of them shitcoins, right? So there's the shitcoin macro thesis. And the shitcoin macro thesis is saying, well, all of it is shitcoin, but would you rather have a USD shitcoin, or would you rather have a limited supply shitcoin with Bitcoin. So I would still say Bitcoin, in a way, is still better than fiat currencies owned by the government, because if somebody has to run it, I'd rather have nobody than a government. That's the libertarian perspective of it. Limited supply, deflationary currency. But the thesis of the macro shitcoin thesis is that it's all speculation. It's not money at all. It's all about going from 10,000x on Bitcoin and flip to Dogecoin and then flip to Shiba Coin and maybe Doge on Mars, because it's not going to the moon, it's going to Mars. Right? So people are not really in it for the money, they're in it for the speculation. And central banker go brr. So here's an example, right? So you go from one shitcoin of Bitcoin to the next shitcoin of Dogecoin to the next shitcoin of Shiba Coin, but it's important to see the market cap. The market cap is huge, but it's a fake market cap, $29 billion. Just as an example, Credit Suisse, honk, 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 a Swiss bank from 1856, $1.5 trillion of assets under management. The market cap is lower than Shiba or Dogecoin. So there's clearly something wrong in the market. And I'm sorry to be the party pooper, but it seems to me that it is not solving the problem. And a lot of people who access those markets are basically privileged people. So we created in 2020, during the pandemic, the global monetary war game, where we tried to get some central bankers, some institutional players, to see which one of all of them CBDCs would actually win. It's just a simulation, and the idea is that we just theorize about what could happen. So long story short, we created a couple of blocks. There's a block for the libertarians or private sector, Bitcoin being one of them, AgAu, AgAu being another one, Libra being another one, or the blocks of the Western world, the blocks of the international organization. The BIS is also in Basel, called the Tower of Basel, the central bank of the central banks, and then the IMF, and then the World Bank, who are gaining traction. And when you look at the gold reserves of different central banks, the IMF has grown substantially, just as much as the ECB. ECB didn't exist a couple of years ago. Now all of the gold from the different countries go to the European Central Bank, whereas before it was at the Banque de France, at the Central Bank of Germany, et cetera, et cetera. And then obviously there's the Chinese who have now political and economical ambitions. So what are the solutions? Well, we have the SDR, which is heavily driven by dollar, euro, but it's biased relative to the balance of trade of today, where China is underrepresented, and we can see a little bit of a political play there. So the idea is to try to figure out what one party would do, the other party would do with one CBDC to run them all. So there's obviously a lot of different scenarios in which a central bank does better than other central banks, but eventually all of them want to run some sort of CBDC. So what can happen? Maybe China can take a little bit more room in the political sphere, the international organizations like the UN and all of those, and essentially drive the influence, trade partners, Silk Road and China Belt and Road Initiative, and essentially win. Well, what can happen is Facebook essentially saying, well, we don't care because we have so many people that we are bigger than countries, and then they can win. But we've seen that politically there's been some frictions there, so it's on hold. It's not even called Libra anymore. I think it's called DM, or it's not called at all. And then obviously there's America, and coupled with Europe and all of the political powers that they have. And as far as we're concerned, I think there's a third choice, the third alternative, which is people voting with their feet, where they go, and with their wallet, where they put their money in. So a lot of people are Bitcoin maximalists. We believe in gold. Traditionally, gold in Switzerland is there because you cannot confiscate it. You need a referendum to break private property laws, and that's what we do. At the end of it, really what we want is just to say the free competition of money needs to be here, and the free competition of money will give more choices to the consumer, and then so the best wins, provided there is no manipulation or enforcement like we see with many of them, and privacy is a big issue. So we had an expert meeting inside the UN ITU, International Telecommunications Union, and we speak about the interoperability of the different central banking projects. I'm a private sector representative. I'm rather on the libertarian side, but it's always good to see that there is things being done. Some central banks think that they're not in the technology business. Some central banks want to really control a bit more of the stuff. But ultimately, as far as AgAu is concerned, we think that there is a massive leverage in the market. That's the Exeter pyramid. And eventually, we will see some sort of reboot, a monetary reset, that we say. Is it going to be driven by central banks themselves in an orderly fashion, or is it going to be non-orderly? Then this is only time will tell. So we've mapped out ourselves as electronic peer-to-peer outside of the public system, but there's plenty of others. This is a little tweaky version of the BIS, Bank for International Settlements, Moneyflower, but a lot of different projects will go either full retail, only institutions, and have different ways of basically privacy, scalability, and type of distribution business. So thank you. The purpose of this talk was to make you reflect on what can possibly happen, because at the end of the day, if there is no reflection, there is no preparation. If there's no preparation, then you can miss out on opportunities. So that's it for me, and if there is any question, I'll be around, and I hope that you realize that what we do is an electronic peer-to-peer money system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thierry. And you're not only around, you're also sitting here on stage later for our last panel tonight. Right. So if you have questions, you can also save them for later for the panel discussion. Thank you. Yeah.